It's time to play truth or consequences.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and we inspire. And I have just come across an article by a gentleman named Tom Stevenson called 10 Truths That Will Improve Your Life Once You Accept Them. And being more, shall we say, Eli, seasoned than you by about 50 years, I took a look at these, and you know what? I found that they were true, so I thought I would share 5 with you today and 5 with you tomorrow. The first one that I want to share with you is your health is everything. And yes, you would expect an older gentleman of some repute to say something like that, but you know what? That's true even when you're a young man. When you have the flu, when you have body aches and pains, when you have sprained your ankle and you can't go play basketball, you say to yourself, or you break your finger and you can't play basketball. I mean, all of these things, you fall down a lot, don't you, Eli? All right. Well, I used to fall down too, but there weren't too many times when I didn't get right back up. But here's the point. As you get older, you start to realize that your body is not indestructible. One day, years ago, I was living in California. I bent down to pick up a basket full of laundry, and I pulled out my back, and was I in pain for 2 weeks until one of the people in my office said, "Stop whining and go see a chiropractor." So I went and saw the chiropractor, and I said, "How long am I going to be in this pain?" I mean, I was just in incredible pain. He said, "Well, it'll last about another 24 hours, then you'll start to feel better." And boom, after he did my adjustment, he was right on the money. We all look to get that adjustment, but when you stop and think about it, your health is something that you have to pay attention to on a daily basis. And when you're not feeling really good, you're limited. You can't focus, and if you want to be successful, that's one of the things that you must do. All right, let's talk about our second truth or consequences. You only control your responses. There are so many things that go on in life that you have no control over. Let's see if I can't think of one off the top of my head. How about a pandemic? All right, there are so many things that go on in your life that you can't control. Focus on the things that you can control, and here's the key thing. What separates the people that are up here from the people that are down here is the way that you respond to them. First of all, there's a difference between react and respond. If the doctor gives you some medication and you take it and he says, "Come back tomorrow, let's see how you did with it," and you're breaking out in hives, then you had a reaction. On the other hand, if you come back and, "Hey, I'm feeling much better, I'm ready to rock and roll," then you have responded to it. One of the things you want to focus on is to not react, but to respond. React implies a knee-jerk reaction, something, boom, you're doing without thinking. Response requires some thinking on your part, for you to ponder, for you to put yourself in different positions, for you to use some logic. It's one of my rules of life is when I'm in a situation and something like that happens, somebody's done me wrong, always at least give yourself overnight. Do not just blurt out something. Do not just get on and and tweet something. We've seen from people that live in, let's see, a big building in Washington, that they tweet quickly and then it's don't hit the send button. All right, so let's just put it that way. Don't hit the send button without doing some logical thinking. Give yourself at least overnight. I like to, as a rule of thumb, give myself 24 hours. Only you can control your responses. And be careful what you say to people, because you may say something and then they will never forget what you said, and that is what they will think of when they see you. And let me be very candid with you. There are several people that I'm sure are very nice people, but when I think of them, I think of the things that they said and did, and that's how I quote-unquote stereotype them. And that's, by the way, one of the ways stereotyping is born. Third thing I want to talk about today is life is short. Now, take it from me, who's been around for a few decades, Eli. Life goes by so fast. I was on a Zoom call last night with some of my buddies that I didn't get to see this year. Normally we get together in Maine, and I only see them once a year. So this year, the only way I'm getting to see them is on the Zoom call. And I'll tell you something, it was great to see them, but it wasn't nearly the same. It wasn't even close, because it's just the camaraderie, it's the seeing people, and you go back, and one of the things that you remember from your life, different little sections. You know, when I was a young man, when I was about your age, Eli, when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old, I was a tremendous athlete in my town. And right now, that's kind of the last thing that's on my mind. Back then, it was very critical. So what you want to do is you want to enjoy the things that you're going through right now, because you're not going to have a chance to repeat all of them. You've got to seize the day and do what you want today. No better time exists than right now. The future isn't guaranteed, and if you haven't seen that with the coronavirus, then you haven't been paying much attention. You know, when you're old, you start to look back with your life with, you don't want to look back with regrets. You got to live your life with the knowledge that one day it's not going to be here. And when you do that, you'll have a much more fulfilling life for yourself. Fourth one, there's no one definition of success. Different people succeed in different ways. Some people measure their success by their materialism, by how much money they accumulate. You know, when I think of successful people, Eli, one of the people that I think of the most is your grandfather, my dad. And he was not somebody, I mean, you look at him and you might say, well, he wasn't such a great success. Actually, to me, he was. And here's why I say that. He was somebody that went to Harvard, so he was a very, very smart guy. And what was success to him was family. Family was everything. And he would spend time with me playing baseball when I was, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We'd play, he'd teach me how to pitch and teach me how to hit and all of those things, related to baseball. He loved baseball, and he passed that along to me. And he took care of my mom. Your grandmother, whom you never met, was very, very sick for a long time with multiple sclerosis, and they didn't know very much about it back then. I'm not sure how much more they know now, but he kept us all together, and he made sacrifices for us. The day that school ended, we would move from the city to the beach that very day, and we would stay there until Labor Day, which was like a couple of days before school would start in the area where I lived. And he would every day have to make an extra commute during the summers of like 45 to 50 minutes to do what he had to do for his work. Now that's giving something up. And that's an extra hour and a half every single day that he was spending so that we could enjoy ourselves at the beach every single summer. And we lived in a little tiny place. It wasn't like it was a palace or anything like that. I mean, we didn't have a phone. It was like 2 or 3 rooms. But I'll tell you something. My best memories from being, 10, 11, 12 years old were of living at the beach in that little tiny apartment. And we would go summer after summer after summer until my mom, your grandmother, got too sick to go. And your grandfather was just dedicated to her and dedicated to both me and your aunt, my sister. And if I could be half the dad that he was, I would consider myself to be a success. That was what he focused on, and success means different things to different people, so keep that in mind. It's not just one big thing. Differences are what make life interesting. You know, Eli, you are discovering that right now, and I know that for a fact, because I know that you are starting to become interested in the female of the species. But it's not just limited to that. I mean, when you start to travel a little bit and you go to different places, not even just different countries, but different parts of this country, I always found it tremendously exciting and fulfilling to go to the South. You know, you sit down in a restaurant and, you know, what would you like to drink? Oh, I'll have some iced tea. And they go, you want some sweet tea? All right. So, you know, or you go and you're having grits with that. You know, things that people in the South take for granted, people in the North don't. And it depends where you live. There's different and exciting things. You know, one of the things that's great about going to Maine is the fact that, first of all, it's cooler during the summer. For those of you that live in Texas, a number of people that I know live in Texas, but also you go there and there's the lobster, there's the seafood. Every part of the country has different things that they highlight. And life is like that also. One of the things is when you meet different people, they all have different things that separate them. Look for those, don't belittle those, embrace those and enjoy them. You know, there are some people that when you see them, you know, one of my friends in particular is, you know, he's just very, very funny. You look forward to seeing him. Embrace that. He's different than I am. He's funny. And people just have different qualities, and what we need to do is to embrace them and not belittle them and appreciate the differences, just as you right now, Eli, are appreciating the differences between your buddies and people that you want, some girls that you want to make friends with. So enjoy this time, embrace the differences, don't belittle the differences, and just, it's one of the truths of life. All right, so we've gone over 5 of those today. The ones that we've gone over very simply are your health is everything. You're the only one that can control your responses. Life is short. There's not one definition of success. It's different for different people. And the differences in life are what make it interesting. And we'll go over 5 more next time we get together. And because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, because we're different, let's get out there and let's charge! I'm Eli's dad.